Hey, what's up and welcome back to Retro Gaming Rewind. So I have to start off this episode with just another huge thank you to all the people who've been viewing and sharing and everything. I just passed 300 subscribers the other day. I feel like I just made a video a few weeks ago thanking you guys for going past 200 subscribers. So I feel like it's, the response has just been awesome. And I just can't thank you guys enough. Like everybody who's on the Facebook groups who've liked and shared, and everybody who's done it on YouTube, just thank you guys again. It's just been awesome making these videos. I feel like the response has been good. The conversations that we're having on comments and everything like that, it's a whole lot of fun for me. So I'm hoping you guys are really enjoying it. I'm going to keep on making these videos. So I have to apologize for how long it's taking me to make the last couple videos, just because my 9-to-5 regular job has gotten very busy. It's kind of seasonal right now. It's like the busy season, so unfortunately it's been very difficult for me to make these videos and play the game and make the necessary time investment for these videos to happen. But I'm hoping to sort of improve my workarounds for all that stuff so I can actually make these videos a little bit more frequently going forward. But anyway, let's move on to the game here. So what we're going to be reviewing is Midway Arcade Classics 2 for the Xbox, and I got pretty cheap. I picked this up. I actually made a video about this before. I'll link it here. When I was out on a business trip in Chicago, and Adam Korlick recommended that I check out Half Price Books, and that's what I did, and sure enough I got this and a couple other games you can see on the video. But this is a pretty cool compilation, I have to say. There's about 20 games on this disc. Well, there is 20 games on this disc. And there was a version also put out on the GameCube and the PS2 as well. Now I hear, reading online and everything like that, the GameCube and PS2 versions might have a little additional wonkiness due to the emulation, because this game is, all these games are being emulated. These aren't being directly ported to the consoles that they're playing on. So this is, obviously 20 games being emulated on the Xbox. This does a pretty darn good job of accurately playing the games. And the nice thing, it also comes with a little bit of bonus content. And, I'll get into all that stuff in the video here in a minute. The way I sort of structured this video, I guess if you want to say, is I go through each 20 games and I give sort of a little review of each game, kind of a mini review, like a minute tops or something like that. So I don't spend too much time on each one. Just give you kind of my 2 cents, and at the end I'll give you sort of my whole kind of wrap up thoughts on the game. So if you just want to skip to the end and just get my sort of overall thoughts, I'll put the timestamp here and you can just skip right to that. But otherwise, we're going to get into each game right now. I'll see you in a minute. So when you load up the game here, you got the menu where you have a selection of about 20 games, I believe. Now, as you can see, there's an option to play, there's options, and then there's bonus content. So here with the bonus content, you can get a little bit of a history about each game, which is kind of neat. And then there's also an option here to select an art gallery. And here, you can usually see where they were kind of advertising arcade games, if you can believe they used to do that. And it was kind of cool because you can zoom in and just sort of scan around. It's just kind of a nice little extra to have. And then some games have a little video gallery where you can see some stuff with the creators. But to be honest with you, the quality is pretty shitty. Just take a listen here.
Cars right in the middle of the screen. You can rotate the screen around, or at least drive around the screen. In the old games, it was a race. This one was more freestyle.
So the first game we see here is Arch Rivals, and this was a game I used to love playing in the arcade. This is a very simple 2-on-2 basketball game, and I liked it because I was never very good at many sports games, but I liked this one because it wasn't, trying to be simmy, and you can punch the crap out of the other players, you can tackle them, just had this crazy vibe to it. I just really liked it in the arcade. And I liked some of the home conversions as well, but they never really kind of did it justice. And you know what? It still kind of holds up pretty well. Obviously, it's not the most amazing basketball game ever made. Like I said, it's very simple, but you know what? It's still very fun to just pick up and play with a friend. Okay, now here's the arcade game APB, and this game is pretty much single-handedly responsible for turning me off to the first 2 GTA games. I think some people really enjoyed this game. The point is to sort of drive around, give out tickets, and just be a cop and whatever. I just never got into the gameplay, the top-down view and the steering and everything. I just hated it when it first came out. I tried to like it, I just hated it, and this game actually just completely turned me off to the whole top-down view and driving. So that's why I never got into the first 2 GTAs. This game just flat out sucks, I'll just say it. Now here's a game that does top-down driving very well, and this is Championship Sprint. Now, obviously the screen is static. It's not like GTA where you have to make last-minute decisions and turn left or right, and the controls are reversed because you're going up or down. This one is easy to plan out because the screen is static, so you know exactly where to turn. And in the arcade, this actually came with a steering wheel, so the steering was much easier. Here at home on this controller, it was actually very difficult to turn the car as far as you wanted, so unfortunately this game still plays a hell of a lot better in the arcade. Cyberball 2072. And this game was memorable because it combined two awesome things, which was football and robots. Obviously you can't go wrong with either one of those things. This is a pretty simple football game. It's pretty fun to play. It's definitely not overly complex. It's very arcadey, obviously. So I would definitely recommend checking this out. Even if you're only passingly into football, it's a pretty fun game. Up next is Gauntlet II, and this was obviously just one of the biggest quarter munchers from back in the day. That's really kind of why I never really got into the Gauntlet games, because they were basically just complete wastes of money. You would put a quarter in and you'd live for about, I don't know, 60 seconds, and then you were dead. So I never really got into the Gauntlet games. This one plays pretty good. The nice thing is it's obviously free, so you can put your health up to as far as you want to and get as far as you want. And it's completely free and it's totally easy. So this is a lot more fun to play than it was way back in the days with the arcade. But it's also kind of boring because you're just kind of going through the motions. There's no real challenge because you can just infinitely replenish your health. So, I mean, it's still a fun game if you get bored one day. Oh, good old hard driving. I used to play this game a whole lot back in the day. You know, it had one of those full sit-down arcade units, you know, with a big screen, had a full shifter, had the gas and brake pedals, you know, steering wheel, the whole deal. And this was a really cool game back in the day because it was one of the first kind of sim experiences that you really got to sit down and play. And the home versions, while they were decent at the time, they were just actually pretty terrible. But this version, it's pretty okay. This is actually one of the games where I do notice a difference between the arcade and the home version. However, I am kind of competing with memories because I haven't played it in a long time. But this version just seems to kind of move and feel a little bit different from what I remember. However, the core experience is still there, so if you've never tried hard driving before, why not? Just give it a shot. Alright, so this is Cosmic Cruiser. I have never heard of this game before, and this game is, I don't know, it's not that great. It's kind of a twin-stick shooter, and the point is to just sort of basically shoot aliens and make your way to the mothership, and that's pretty much it. I didn't really see any other purpose to this game. I played it for about 5 minutes and I was done with it. So I would not say this is a gem hidden to the collection. Now we get to one of my all-time favorite fighting games ever, and it's Mortal Kombat 2. I fucking love this game. This is my absolute favorite Mortal Kombat game, even to date. However, I do have to admit I haven't played some of the newer ones, but to me, MK2 is still the gold standard. In this version, it's pretty good. You know, I have read online some people had some issues with this emulation. However, I haven't run into any personally here on the Xbox version. However, I hear there are some other versions like the GameCube and PS2 that might not do so well. But so far, I mean, I had a great time with this version of MK2. I didn't really have any problems. I didn't play it for hours and hours on end. You know, I just tried it out for this review. But, I mean, so far, so good. It was a very accurate rendition of the arcade. So good old Mortal Kombat 3. I had completely forgotten how big of a jump it was going from Mortal Kombat 2 to Mortal Kombat 3. Just to see like Sub-Zero was suddenly this unmasked white guy ninja. You'd had no Scorpion. It was just all these weird transitions that I wasn't really feeling too much going from Mortal Kombat 2 to 3. However, the gameplay is still there. The gameplay kicked ass, the combo system and everything like that. We played the crap out of this game in the arcades, and when it came home, you know, this version seems to hold up pretty well. You know, I didn't really spend as much time and money in the arcade as I did on MK2, so I can't really compare it, you know, perfectly here. But I can say that this version, when I played it during this review, I didn't really have any kind of technical issues or any problems with the emulation. So obviously that might change the next time I turn the game on. I might run into some technical issues just because emulation can be quirky. But yeah, no problems here from what I experienced. And next on the list is NARC, and I guarantee you 90% of the people who bought this game bought it to play NARC. If you've never played NARC before, I'm very sorry, but go find a way to go play it, because it's amazing to think that this game actually exists. And it's just really, it's one of those games that really kind of shows you a difference, you know, kind of between, I guess, the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and so on. Just because if you look at this game, you can look at the type of stuff that was being marketed to kids in arcade games, and that was stuff that was along the lines of Predator, Contra, you know, pretty much like RoboCop, all that sort of stuff. And if you can just picture like Trauma and Paul Verhoeven getting together in the 80s to conceptualize a video game, you know, this is pretty much the exact result of what that would have been. It's just amazing to think that this game actually exists. It's awesome. It's just super fun to play. You can play it with somebody else, 2-player, and it plays awesome just like the arcade. I didn't really notice any kind of problems with it. So if you have an Xbox and you really want to play NARC, feel good about picking this up. Alright, so Pit Fighter. Yeah, this game sucks. And that's really all you need to know. Trust me, I'm doing you a favor here. Do not play Pit Fighter. Moving on. So, Primal Rage. You know, in the boardroom, this probably sounds like a good concept because how can you go wrong with fighting dinosaurs, especially when fighting games were all the rage. But, you know, I don't know if they were actually trying to legitimately turn this into a real fighting game. I imagine they did because there was a sequel. But yeah, I never really took this game seriously. There were so many other better fighting games out there. But it is kind of just fun and ridiculous to have a fighting game like this with dinosaurs and like King Kong wannabes. So, I don't know. It's kind of a cool thing to have, I guess, as a novelty. Rampage World Tour. What is not to like about this game? Giant monsters, crushing buildings, eating people. It's just awesome. You know, I used to be obsessed with Rampage all the way back on the Commodore 64, because to me, back then, Rampage was kind of one of the games that really actually looked like the arcade to a certain extent on the Commodore 64. So I played the crap out of that game. It was a whole lot of fun. It's basically the same now, just with some updated graphics and, you know, a couple gameplay elements, that sort of thing. But it's just pure, simple, unadulterated fun, and it, you know, it's 2 players. So yeah, I mean, if you pick up this disc, I highly recommend playing that game. Okay, so Spy Hunter 2. Ugh, what happened here? This game sucks. Compared to Spy Hunter 1, I mean, this is like the worst game ever made. I mean, if you're comparing directly to Spy Hunter 1, this is freaking terrible. I loved the first Spy Hunter, even though, you know, it's pretty simple. If you go back and look at it by today's standards, it's at least still playable and still fun. Looking at this and playing this, it's garbage. I mean, what the hell were they thinking with this fake-ass 3D angle and, like, swinging the car to the left and the right as you move it across the screen? It's horrible. Oh, yeah, obviously I dislike this game. Yeah, so stay away. Stay far away. Alright, so here we are with another arcade game I've never heard of called Timber. This is a pretty simple game. You're just kind of running around and chopping up trees as they pop up and avoiding obstacles throughout the course. You know, obviously this is a very simple game from the 80s. I don't know, maybe at one point I would have enjoyed this game, but I picked it up and I played it for a couple minutes. I sort of got the gist of it, and I was done with it. But, you know, there's some simple fun to be had here, and, you know, the game plays well. So, you know, it's worth trying out, I guess, for, like, you know, a couple minutes.
Total Carnage!
Total Carnage. So this game never actually came to any arcades that I frequented. You know, it was pretty much Smash TV, and this was kind of the sequel to Smash TV in like a spiritual sequel kind of way. The same way that Smash TV was a sequel to Robotron 2084. So obviously it's a twin stick shooter. As you can see, it's very similar to Smash TV. Same kind of aesthetic, character designs, that sort of thing, same kind of violence. Obviously it was probably put together by the exact same team, but it's a very, very fun game. It's a little different from Smash TV because there's some auto-scrolling elements, and it's not as confined to like specific rooms like the game show concept was. So, but it's still a very fun game, still very, very difficult. You know, obviously a quarter muncher because they kill you every 5 seconds in the game pretty much. But obviously you have infinite coins, so this is a very, very fun game. Another awesome addition to this collection, and another very worthy reason to pick up this disc. And this game is specifically a lot of fun to play with somebody else.
I love it! You will fly!
And moving on to yet another arcade game that I never heard of called Wakko. And I'm sorry, all I can think of when I hear that name is Daryl Hammond and Will Ferrell in the Jacko on his Backo skit in SNL. I highly recommend Googling that or YouTubing that to check that out. It's hilarious. But regarding this game, it's kind of set up like a twin-stick shooter. However, it's weird. It's almost like a match game. So like you see the monsters here, you have to match the colors in order to get the two off the screen. It's, you know, it gets more difficult the further you get into it. Pretty simple concept. Again, this is another kind of very simple game that I was done with after I played it for about 5 minutes. It's not terribly fun. It doesn't hold up terribly well. So this game, Wizard of War, I guess I could have seen how this would have been fun back in the day, you know, with competitive multiplayer. Obviously, you're just sort of like working your way through a maze, shooting the aliens or whatever they're supposed to be, and then you're also trying to shoot the guy and avoid getting shot. I can see how this would have been, you know, some fun back in the day. However, it just doesn't really hold up very well. It doesn't have a lot of replay value, at least as far as I was playing it. You know, I didn't really get to sit down and play it with somebody, so maybe that would have, like, you know, added something to it. But yeah, very simple, kind of fun. I could see this being a little bit more fun with somebody else. Okay, and here we have Xenophobe. This is another really fun arcade game that you got to play with some friends. Obviously, this is a 3-player game. And, you know, it was very kind of rare we actually got 3 people to sit down and play Xenophobe. But when you did, it was kind of fun. This is obviously meant to be a big quarter muncher, so it's kind of hard to get through. Basically, it's just a side-scrolling action game, and all you're doing is you're going into these, like, spaceships and trying to, like, kill the infestation of aliens. You know, and there's not much plot beyond that. However, it doesn't really hold up all that well. There's just some, like, funky gameplay elements. You know, just the way you pick stuff up and shoot the aliens and the collision detection, it's all just a little weird. But it was always like that even in the arcade game, so I don't know. So it's kind of a fun game to pick up and play for a few minutes, but there's just a lot better games on this disc to spend some time with. And that brings us to the last game on the disc, and also one of my favorite arcade games of all time, and that's Xybots. This game just felt way ahead of its time back in the day when it came out, you know, with this 3D over-the-shoulder view, just 3D action all around you. It was a whole lot of fun. You're able to rotate the screen. You see the map in the center of the screen, so you can see where you're going, where all the aliens are. And it's almost sort of like a 3D Gauntlet to an extent. However, to me, it's just a lot more fun than Gauntlet, because you're running around, you're grabbing keys, killing enemies, that sort of thing, and just trying to warp to the next level or trying to skip levels, that sort of thing. So it's just a whole lot of fun, and the gameplay holds up incredibly well. So you could still play this today and just get a whole lot of fun out of it. Yeah, so overall, I think this disc is pretty awesome. I mean, you can get this very cheap, probably around like $5 or something like that. I think there are some better Midway collections that have been put together since this came out. However, I don't know. I don't have those, and I don't know if all that bonus content is on there, or if it's all the same across all the different versions. I don't really know. But the bonus content was pretty cool, so I'll probably hold on to this just in case it's not on any of those other discs. But I'll probably end up actually playing the games on this thing on, like, you know, a 360 or a PS3 or something like that. But it's nice to have. It's, you know, definitely a very good collection. So if you can find it out there cheap, like $5, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Till next time, guys, I will see you later.